Hello, dear friends. We're sincerely glad to welcome you again, and today we're going to talk to the esteemed Igor Mikhailovich Danilov.
Greetings.
Igor Mikhailovich, many thanks to you from me personally and from our viewers for the previous conversation, for this talk from soul to soul. Indeed, so many serious and profound, important insights, realizations, and understanding of each person's responsibility are born. Of course, there were moments when it was very painful to realize the situation we're in as a society. However, against this background, there is still hope, there is enthusiasm and inspiration to show even more humaneness in our daily lives and to revive this humaneness in society as a whole. Of course, it resonated deeply, and you are absolutely right in noting that today, due to the fact that our society has such a crisis as a crisis of humaneness, we are, in fact, on the brink of a precipice where we are standing at a complete loss, not understanding what we can oppose to all these challenges, while we, as a society, actually have absolutely everything. But there is hope, as you said, that if people realize that after all, we are all one, if we as humanity overcome all these divisions, then we will be able to save each other's lives and we will be able to start life with a clean slate. Everyone with a clean slate in an absolutely beautiful world, because everyone is worthy of this good world. It touched me deeply when you said that there are no bad people, that every person is essentially a good person, and it is the conditions and circumstances that exist in society and in this world that make people bad. And of course, it is very encouraging that so many people are joining the Creative Society project because it is surely a unique and remarkable project. It is remarkable in the sense that seemingly absolutely different people who have been brought up in absolutely different cultural traditions and in different religious traditions, adherents of various social views and different perspectives. But despite these differences, these people have managed to unite, and they are uniting, and more people are joining, so that in sincere care for each human being, to really help us all survive, to find such a common solution that would be beneficial for every member of society. However, there are still many people who do not know about the Creative Society, but they are well aware that there is a crisis of humaneness in the world. They see it in all spheres and in their own lives. And they sincerely have a question. What should we do? How can we overcome it? And the question is the following: what needs to change and happen in the worldview of a person himself and in society as a whole, so that we ultimately can save lives on the eve of the exacerbating climate crisis?
I will say that it is these climatic changes that will lead all of us to understanding that we need to change something. Why? Let's just look, friends. The volcanic eruptions that have occurred in the past 6 months have almost reached the number that was recorded for the entire previous year, while here, it's for 6 months. The progression is, I would say, huge. In observing it, observing what is happening outside, yes, some people are not affected by it. Some people don't see it at all, but that's for now. A little more time will pass, and everyone will feel it for themselves. I will say that today, none of us is safe anymore. We have really lost the world in which we lived just recently, and every year, every day, we will be coming closer to the inevitable, seemingly inevitable. But there is still an opportunity to reverse all these problems. However, for that, we need our common consolidation, and whether we want it or not, we will realize that we have to unite and all together counter this problem with something. The only question here is what to counter it with and when. If we fall into misconceptions again, trying to solve something that in reality has nothing to do with the climatic changes that are taking place, simply because they give at least some hope, then we will lose our last chance. But thank God, people are becoming smarter. Everywhere in the world, people are beginning to see the truth, and that means a lot. when the truth is really voiced by people themselves, when people see what is happening and call things by their proper names, they are getting cleansed. They are getting cleansed of foolishness. They start looking at the world from a broader perspective and start asking questions. How have we, humanity, come to this situation, the one we now find ourselves in? And this is very important. Yes, not everyone realizes it today, but we are all different. Some people need a lot of time to understand a simple truth, while others understand more quickly. But unfortunately, we will all understand this. The only question is whether we will be able to understand it in time and respond correctly to the current situation, and whether we will have a future or not depends on this. Why? Because those changes that are taking place now are the greatest challenge for all of humanity, and it is no longer fairy tales. If not so long ago, nobody from the highest circles, let's say, from those who run this world, believed in it, or maybe they did believe but simply didn't talk about it. Everyone tried to silence the climate issue, talked about some warming and the anthropogenic factor, but now, excuse me, people are sobering up. Indeed, already, let's say, those in power too are beginning to openly say that this is the biggest challenge. Nevertheless, we continue to be stupid. We are rolling by inertia. As we lived thousands of years ago, so we live nowadays. Nothing has changed. We are all divided, each dealing with our own problems. But times have changed totally and completely. At a time when the consolidation of all of humanity is needed, we are divided. And here we come to an understanding. Why is it so? And will we actually be able to unite now? Although, in fact, we should have united 2,000 years ago. But we failed to do that. We've had plenty of time to become one united humanity, to become one united civilization, and to direct our entire resource and all our capabilities towards changing the world and making it beautiful as it should be. But we, humanity, lack the most important thing. No, not the desire to live. We have it. Everyone fights for their life. Not the desire to live better. We all want to live better. We lack a common goal. And when, excuse me, there is no goal, then the meaning of our existence is zero. That is, we are fighting for no one knows what, and everyone is fighting for their own. Let's honestly look at the current situation, my friends. We have numerous countries. Our world is now being divided into two camps, the eastern and the western parts. And they are in opposition to each other, and all the people living in these territories are being drawn into this process. We are told that this is right. We are compelled to the point that we must fight each other and even die for it. But wait, what are we in this world for? Why do we lack humaneness and elementary common sense? Just, let's say, take a breath and think, what is our goal? What is the meaning of us? Some people claim there is no meaning. We were formed by chance. Life emerged sort of by chance. We evolved according to Darwin, and we became what we are. Just animals, endowed with intelligence. And that's why we behave this way. Like in a pack of wolves, each one defends its territory. The same is here. We must defend our territory. We must, if it is necessary, even kill each other for some well-being and some illusory freedom. After all, that's how it is. We all celebrate some kind of independence from someone or something. We all fight for some freedoms that we don't have. And you know what the most terrible thing is? The most terrible thing is that we all live in fear. Overt or covert, but we all live in fear. We don't live. We merely exist. It's really true. and each of us has something to worry and fear about. Firstly, we are unable to confront even basic violations of our rights. This is the case in many countries. We are unable to save those who are dying now, of thirst and hunger. After all, right now, when we are talking, children are dying of thirst, children are dying of hunger in large numbers, of not receiving sufficient medical care. Imagine, in this day and age, when we have already invented super weapons, we're killing each other massively. But I'll put it this way. Today, there are many institutions that deal with, let's say, geopolitical confrontation, meaning with how we should confront each other in this world. We have a lot of institutions that deal with solving military problems. That is, how we should organize ourselves to better kill the enemy. We have institutions that form, invent, and create these enemies. Tell me, do we have at least one institution that cares, truly cares about ensuring that we live in peace and in unity? And here's the question, what kind of humanity are we? Yes, not so long ago, asking such questions was simply scary. But now, facing the climate threat, the situation we have entered, it's an inevitability that is growing faster and faster day by day and bringing us closer to the finish line, really to our finish line of human existence. And everyone already knows and understands that the jokes are over. Just a little more time will pass and we're going to enter the cycle. And everything that we have experienced, all this climate nightmare, turns out to be just forerunners. And now we realize that it's going to get worse. And every person on this planet will face this climate Cerberus, and it is almost impossible to avoid it. But are we as humanity ready for this? No, we're not ready. Will we be able to counter it with at least anything? We won't. Are we organized as people to save each other? No. Why not? Because we do not value life. What values are really valuable in this world? None except money. The only thing that we, all together, shall we say, spend our resources on, give our lives to, is money. Is this the pinnacle of the idea? Is that the common goal of us, people, smart people? But are we actually smart? That's a good question. But you have to agree, there is even no desire to diagnose us as humanity. We are ready to kill each other for the money we made up ourselves. You know, it's like a joke, like a mockery. We don't value human lives. But human life is very fragile, very delicate. It's an instant that passes very quickly, and we can easily take that instant away. We're taking them away today in large numbers, simply because we don't have love for humanity in us, simply because we have disagreements. And if we speak honestly, simply because we want money, we want to dominate, we want some kind of freedom, and we fight for freedom. Imagine, two countries are at war, fighting for freedom. Freedom, what is it? And here is already a question. How do we fight each other? Fight for freedom. For freedom from whom? And what will change? It doesn't matter who will win. Will anyone gain freedom? No. Yes, economic conditions may slightly change for one side and the other, but nothing more. Will people gain freedom? What are people dying for when we are on the verge of the death of all humanity? After all, every person is a human being. Life is very fragile. It can easily be taken. But has anyone tried to create life? To actually go ahead and through laboratory methods, create life, at least a small living being. I don't know, a bug or a fly. Has anyone tried? It won't work. As of today, we don't have that technology. Yes, we can clone something. We can do other things. We can use living things to make them bigger, but nothing more. Yet, can we recreate life? So why do we have the right to take it while we are already under threat? A deadly threat to all of humanity. And even now, we continue to be divided. In order for us to be able to unite, we need a goal. A society without a common goal, without a common idea, will never be able to unite. Tell me, do we have such a goal? The answer is like, we want to live. But do we actually want to live? Maybe we do. But do we value someone else's life? Of course not. Why? Because it's not our life. But do we value our own life? After all, currently, the number of people voluntarily ending their life, committing suicide, exceeds losses in war. Can you imagine this figure? People who have devalued their own life. People who commit suicide, commit a crime. It's really true. They don't value what God has granted them. But why? They are tired of being afraid. They are tired of resisting. Some may say, there can be many reasons. Well, yes, there are many, but in such numbers, in such a quantity, for people to just die like that.
They're tired of suffering, in fact, yes.
Of course. I just wanted to say that this is all because we all suffer to a greater or lesser extent. We suffer because we are non-humans. Because in reality, darkness engulfs us as a human community, divides us, rules over us, makes us fear, suffer, anguish, and deprives us of wonderful opportunities that we could have already implemented by now. I'll put it simply, and also, please, think about it, friends. Think about the simple truth. Today, our science is capable of prolonging human life beyond the species limit multiple times. The average life expectancy on Earth is, let's say, 70 years. Lucky is the one who has made it to 100. But tell me, is he lucky? How does a person at 70 feel now? Just a few feel more or less normal. And at 100, you know, when old age comes and a person just getting out of bed in the morning doesn't know which foot to get up from because both of his feet hurt, can we call this life? After all, it is torment. It is suffering. At a time when we, as humankind, could already today make it so that people would live, let's say, modestly, for at least 400 years now while remaining young and healthy. That's what is already confirmed. Moreover, we could reverse old age as a disease, restore health, youthfulness, vigor, the ability to at least run in the morning, regardless of the fact that you are 100 years old, at least 10 kilometers, without much panting. And this is no longer science fiction. And if we promote science, 1,500 years will be the norm. Tell me, is it worth it or not? But do all these opportunities make at least any sense today in our consumerist format? Can we implement our opportunities really implement our scientific achievements that humankind has in our consumerist format, just like that. Can we use FFGs? In fact, it's convenient, and it already exists. You can no longer say that it is science fiction, that it's unrealistic. It's a reality. It already exists, and it works. But how convenient it is when in your house or in your apartment, my friend, there is, excuse me, a feel-free generator which makes absolutely no noise, does you no harm, but produces more than enough energy for your existence, for running the air conditioner, for supplying water, for draining the sewage, for heating, for cooking food. And it doesn't depend on the climate, on whether it is raining or the wind is blowing. Power lines have been knocked out or something else. You have stable electricity. Whatever happens outside your window, is that bad? Everyone will say, it's good. But is it possible in the consumerist format? Everyone will say no. In a simple example, if we merely introduce FFGs, millions of people will be out of work. I will repeat what we said quite recently, just a couple of years ago, that soon a lot of people will be out of work. They will simply be unemployed because information technologies do not stand still, because neural networks are developing. And today, we are sad to learn that millions of people are already left without jobs. Just a little bit longer, and neither actors, nor teachers, or doctors will be needed. Why? All professions will be replaced. It is natural and logical, and it is right. But it is one thing when they are replaced in the creative society, when a person is protected. Even in the transition period, he gets a basic income regularly every month. Even if it is at the level of $10,000 as of today. But with stable prices, it is more than enough, especially when a person has housing. He is protected, he has free energy, and he doesn't have to pay taxes. This is wonderful. It already gives some hope and freedom. However, all this is business. Implementation of these technologies is inevitable. And literally, those who have these technologies don't care about people's fates. They don't care about people's lives. It's true. This is happening already now. Although, a couple of years ago, those very IT specialists doubted that it would happen. They said, yes, neural networks are developing, but we control them. So how is it now, guys? Are you keeping them under control? You are no longer needed today. There are a few of those left who are still working somewhere, but that won't last long either. Human consciousness is incapable of competing with a neural network in solving elementary tasks. Yes, there will remain those problems where talented IT specialists will be actually needed and demanded, just a few out of millions, while the rest will have to look for another job. Neither presenters nor actors will be needed, because these neural networks will replace everyone and everywhere, wherever it is possible. On the one hand, it's good. It's a progress. But when a person is thrown out of life in a consumerist format, that's where suicides and many other things come from, friends. Do we value the life of others when in our time, children are dying of hunger? Excuse me, how can this be? And imagine if we now try to implement even the technology of prolonging life, if we solve all these gerontological problems. After all, old age is actually a disease, and it can be cured. And this has already been proven today. The simple question is, who will let us? And how can we do that? Just imagine, my friend, there is, I don't know, think of a surname of a famous person who receives such medication and gets younger before our eyes. From a decrepit old man, he becomes a young, handsome man with great experience, with good intellect, and with huge capitals, while you are getting old, decrepit, and remain unemployed. Isn't that unfair? Here's the answer. People will rise up because they will be offended it means that no one can have this technology. Even those leaders of our world who have been able to make a lot of money, let's say, to learn a lot, and their life, excuse me, is the same as ours. Ordinary people, not different, ending quickly, with the same diseases and the same problems. Is it normal at all that we get old and sick when we can solve this issue? And here, we have a real crisis of the value of human life. While all this, friends, what we have just voiced is just a drop in this ocean of injustice of this world. And this entire injustice is done by us. We do it and we support it. And the simple question is, why is that so? Why? When we can change everything. After all, it is elementary and simple. We just need to come to an agreement to change the format, the one we created ourselves. We are the ones who have invented it. We have an artificially created economy. We have artificially invented values. A simple example, how much does the life of any human being cost if we take it in gold? Somebody's life costs a little bit of gold. Somebody else's life costs more gold. But having gold, we can take away any life. And how much gold would it take to give a person a life out of nothing and create it? All the gold in the world will not be enough. So, does gold have any value? Yes. It has certain properties. But why do we value it more than human life if it cannot create life? Well, this is true. Tell me, are we really that stupid? I doubt it. We are intellectually developed. We are not animals. We are human beings. We behave in a beastly manner towards each other and sometimes towards our relatives and friends. In reality, there is a lot of violence in families nowadays, a lot of injustice. Children suffer from their parents because, excuse me, they are sick, alcoholics, or drug addicts. How can it be that up to this day we have been abusing something that poisons us, something that turns our life into an illusion, and we enjoy it? We advertise it. We are proud of it. Of what? Of consuming poisons that deprive us of life? Tell me, is this a normal world? And that's where everyone has thoughts, and everyone feels that the climate problem is there for a reason. You know, it's like justice seeking to prevail, because the darkness in our world has thickened so much that it is time for it to be dispelled. But the trouble is that, yes, the darkness will be dispelled, but together with us, while we want to live. Look at this inconsistency. Are we really so stupid? Do not value life and do not love each other so much that we are incapable of coming to one common goal, incapable of coming to an agreement with each other in order to change life and make it happy and worthy, a life in which we can live for a very long time, while being young and healthy enough, which is the most important thing. Can't we build a world where people won't kill other people just for nothing, just because they want money? Tell me, is that unrealistic? If it's unrealistic, we are doomed. If we are unable to unite around one idea, a simple, normal idea to live happily. Think about it, to live happily with great opportunities, the way any human being deserves to live today. If we are unable to unite around this idea, if we are unable to realize that the life of any person is as valuable as our life, if we do not value our own life, our world is doomed, and each of us is doomed. And whatever we have already lost it, and we have lost the future. But if we have at least a little bit of intelligence and common sense, then we still have time to make a big difference. It only takes one goal, and it only takes a small step of each person towards that goal, and the world will change. And everything depends on each of us. Yes, it's words again. What I am saying, despite the fact that it is verity and truth, and everyone understands this, but immediately our consciousness activates. As for me, yes, I do understand, but how? In such a world. That's why the world is like this, my friend, because we listen to our consciousness. Sometimes it directly contradicts the truth. It directly contradicts our desires and banal human needs. Look at the root. What changes us and what controls us? The one who is within us. That darkness holds us. It forces us to be offended, to be unjustly punished, and yet do nothing. It tells us, if I act now in some way, what will other people think of me? Guys, isn't this funny? The world is practically dead. The climate is gaining momentum. Nowadays, suffering in this world is already filling this world more and more. The cup of patience is overflowing. Fears are already in the heads and hearts of many people, while we are afraid to start living in a human way. Just to live as each person deserves to live. Well, for this, we need only to make a small step. Just a step, but in the right direction, towards life, love, and unity, towards justice, and towards respecting, at least, constitutional rights, at least to start with a simple thing. After all, the highest value is human life. Whether we can make it a reality or not depends only on us. So, friends, everything is simple, and we can do anything if we want to. I hope that reason will prevail, and we will win. We will conquer our death. We will conquer the ignorance that this world is filled with. We will be able to get rid of the darkness that has captured our hearts. There is much to say and much to talk about. But the truth is, no matter how much we talk about it, things will remain as they are until we take a step. And that's something worth thinking about. Are our lives and our children's lives worth taking a step towards humaneness, towards life, towards justice? I think they are. And what do you think? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, friends. Peace and God's love be with you.